Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and for some reason nobody's talking about this, so I just had to make a video bringing it up. You know how the standard meta is like really uncreative and bad right now? It's either control spam, like 80% control draw with a tiny little win condition trash, or it's red rush, white rush, or red-white rush, you know, since speed of course beats control heavy deck. And then literally everything else in standard is unplayable because of it. It's pretty unhealthy, and a lot of the pros and wizards themselves have been kind of, I don't know, covering it up might not be the right term, but I mean, they are saying, oh, look at how diverse it is. Like, well, this 3-color control deck, that 3-color control deck, and that 3-color control deck. Wow. Oh, and mono blue, how exotic and different, except they all work exactly the same way. Well, in case you haven't noticed, not a lot is being played from the second Ravnica set because nothing needed to. I mean, the first set just created the decks that can't be beaten. And the last time this happened, it was Energy, and the 4 sets after it all could not compete with Energy. It was just too damn good. And so all 4 of them just sold terribly. I mean, just nobody was interested in those cards because the singles weren't valuable because nobody needed them to play standard because the best decks were already well established. Like I said, that did happen to an extent with Ravnica Allegiance, so will it happen again with War of the Spark? Can anything from War of the Spark beat what's in standard right now? Well, assuming it's just a helper set for the other guilds, you'll see cards from every guild, theoretically. That might not happen, but I mean, it's not like there's 5 more guilds to introduce. So even if it's just an unrelated blah set because all the guilds get blown apart by Bolus or whatever the heck happens, it will still be very multicolored. There will not be like absolute central themes. So because of that, it looks like they threw in, confirmed, 36 Planeswalkers, and well, if you don't have any central, strong, individual story-based theme to go off of, it's probably just going to be scattered nonsense, and then the theme is having 36 Planeswalkers. And honestly, the rest of the set is probably just filler. I mean, there's probably a couple unique, hyper-powerful new bombs, but that's it. Well, let's just assume the whole set is Planeswalkers. That's the gimmick, that's the deck, that's the strategy. Not even just Super Friends, but like slotting in Planeswalkers into things. Well, what typically beats Planeswalkers? Well, there's 3 things. 1, direct Planeswalker removal, like Vraska's Contempt, Bedevil, Ixalan's Binding, stuff like that. Not being able to cast a Planeswalker into play because they are just way too fast, and by the time you have the mana, their board presence is so ridiculous that your Planeswalker is going to get killed the second it drops in, or, well, the next turn. That makes them pretty unplayable. Or so much control that since Planeswalkers are usually 4+ mana, you're going all in that turn with all or close to all of your usable mana for the turn, and then it gets removed by a counterspell. Well, right now we've got Red Rush, Control Spam, and like Mono Blue Control. Like those are the major archetypes. And the other archetypes tend to run tons of universal removal, and if they don't, it'll be White Exile in the sideboard, or just all kinds of black removal, red removal, you name it. Even red just has direct to the Planeswalker strike abilities that can just nuke them. So all 3 natural predators of Planeswalkers are there. So what reason would anybody have to put, 1 or 2 Planeswalkers in their deck in the place of something else? When it's never going to resolve, it's never going to stick, it's always going to die. I mean, even Merfolk Tribal, some people are still playing that. Cool. Unblockables and hexproof. Good luck. I mean, honestly, I know they couldn't really predict this or see this coming in any way, but this seems like just about the worst time ever to add Planeswalkers to Standard and expect people to actually use them. Now, Planeswalkers are Planeswalkers. You could prop up the price a little bit just from other formats, but remember, Planeswalkers can't automatically be commanders unless it's stated on the card, and I don't think they're going to have that on this set. So they could go in a commander deck, but that's a lot less demand than being the commander. Although a ton of casual play groups have made it so that you can have a Planeswalker be your commander regardless. Well then, Planeswalkers, especially if they cost 5 and up, are usually way too slow for Modern. It depends on the deck. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not the norm. So theoretically, the price could be propped up by something else, but basically, if something can't go into Standard and it's a product printer for Standard, it's dead on arrival. I mean, look at like even Journey into Nyx. Nope, not enough cards in there were usable, and it just tanked. Amonkhet? No, not really. Not until Hour dropped, and even then. So this set could fall flat on its face because of what decks it goes up against, but, you know, Magic is a rock, paper, scissors thing. You never know what a couple little individual cards will do to the meta. Maybe things will shift around so that Planeswalkers are playable. I very much doubt it. But what's the number 1 problem with Planeswalkers right now? From a very high tier deck, still consistently tier 1 over the last, several months at least. Because, I mean, I could say Izzet Drakes would absolutely nuke Planeswalkers and claw their freaking eyes out, but I can't even remember the last time in like the last 3 or 4 weeks that I've seen that deck on Arena. It's like nobody plays it anymore, and it hasn't done very well at recent tournaments. The deck is still amazing. It's not like it got powered down. I mean, nothing got banned out of it, unfortunately. But it just has some bad matchups against new popular decks, and because of that, people just dropped it like a rock, and now it's dead. So that could happen. I mean, the meta could shift just a little bit with some bad matchups, and what's popular now goes down the toilet. Everything changes, and yay, Planeswalkers. In fact, I suspect that there will be a blue spell that costs 1 that counters a spell that targets target player or Planeswalker. That alone could be enough to stand by at least the blue Planeswalkers. And then we're all set, right? But the number one threat, to get back to that, is definitely mono red. I mean, that has been a problem since the last rotation, since before the last rotation. Everybody wanted Goblin Chain Whirler banned. It was literally you play blue-white Teferi or red rush, and that was it. There were no other decks in Standard. Nothing even stood a chance in hell against them, except, I guess, Scarab God. And, well, he's gone. I mean, control is control, but honestly, if you're going to do a true Super Friends deck, which is where you play like 20 plus Planeswalkers in one deck and then just cover for them, if the cover takes the form of counter spells and similar such spells, I would think that that would play around the really slow control-y decks. So that might be a proper matchup, but what do you do when your whole deck curves to like 3, 4, 5, 6 because of Planeswalkers, and then they're playing Red Rush? I mean, you could drop a bunch of 2-cost walls, you could do 2-cost like Essence Scatter effects, maybe? Even then, you're not going to get them all. I mean, the absolutely ridiculous way that Red Rush runs right now, with that stupid Steam Elemental and Experimental Frenzy, they have unlimited card draw and unlimited mana, basically. They could cast the whole top quarter of the deck in one turn, which is funny because that's distinctly a blue and green effect that they're using. That's why it's so broken. Whenever you start veering out of your lane color-wise and start adopting other colors' major mechanics, stuff goes bad real quick. And that is what they did. So no amount of control and then half your hand being Planeswalkers that are just boat anchors early game is going to stop Red Rush. Either all-in goblins or like drain away spell heavy, even mid-range red, you're still going to get nuked by it. I think that's the number one problem. I mean, white-red blitz with heroic reinforcements, ouch. But that deck really seems slow compared to traditional actual Red Rush. And on Arena, especially, that disgraceful, ridiculous 13 land red deck that is just abusing the way the shuffler math is rigged in your favor, they need to do something about that. They need to say if you're below 18 lands, screw it, turn off the hand assistance. It's that simple. That is literally the fix. They could implement it tomorrow if they wanted. It's almost one line of code. Actually, hell, I'm thinking about the way it would be written. It is literally one line of code. So anyway, that's not even the problem. People are blaming Arena Shuffler for the problem and saying that, oh, you could never run this in paper. Well, add 5 more lands and run it in paper. People already are. It's winning tournaments. The real reason that works is not because you get a bump from like 82% up to 90 that you'll get 1+ lands in your opening hand, so you can count on that at almost double the prevalence as in paper. 82% ain't that bad either, just mulligan. The actual problem is Experimental Frenzy and that Steamkin elemental thing. Well, that and Light Up the Stage, I think that almost by itself is just utterly ridiculous that exists. It's a 1-cost conditionally delayed divination. I mean, that's ridiculous. You gave that to blue and people would be losing their damn minds. Utterly ridiculous. So I would say either ban Skewer, ban Runaway, or ban Light Up the Stage, or you know what? I don't even give a crap, ban all 3. That would be the solution. And if you think about it, there's no amount of patching Arena that they could do. There's no amount of, oh, maybe there'll be an answer for red. Remember, red cards are going to be in War of the Spark. So the deck can either stay the same and get 0 cards benefit or get better. Those are the 2 options. I don't think anybody wants to see it get better. And it's not going to. It never has. For the last year and a half, it hasn't gotten any better. And I know what Wizards is thinking. Red has been super disrespected, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's because they're too dumb to give it creative mechanics that work mid-range. Red's thing, their gimmick is haste and like 3/1 for 2 creatures, or like conditional double strike, or, you know, first strike, or a really, really cheap boost. They're all about quick damage. The problem is if you actually do it well enough that it's competitive, nobody can play any other deck than that. So I would drop it from here going on for the next 10 years in Magic, at least. Just drop that. Just get that out of your head and just play, okay, direct damage and really, really, really cool stuff in red. Very interesting, like you see it and you want to play it stuff that costs 3 or more. And just take all this red blitz BS and just get rid of it. It's been ruining Magic for over a year now. Just get rid of it. Stop printing that. Just stop. So 100% to make Planeswalkers even remotely viable, they will have to cripple and honestly just utterly destroy the Red Winds deck. And a lot of the cards that go in it are still dirt cheap, so people wouldn't lose that much value. They've been playing the deck for an extremely long time with very minor tweaks to it, so they got their money out of it. I know whenever you ban something, people complain regardless, but I think they wouldn't have as much grounds to complain this time around, and everybody agrees Red Rush is just broken and has to go. So the only complaints would be coming from people who actually own the deck and are leaning on it because they have no skill and they want just some easy monkey deck that can take 3 minutes on Arena so they can get their free wins. A monkey deck, by the way, is not monkey tribal. It's a deck that literally a monkey could be trained to run. But is there anything else? I did mention White Blitz, which is more of like a swarm deck with the elephant right now. I mean, there's not going to be like a board white Planeswalker that costs 4. That would never happen. Well, never say never when it comes to Wizards of the Coast, but that would be really unfair. But even just like a Kaya's Wrath or a similar effect, I mean, they might even print Damnation in this set, who knows? Planar Cleansing if they have enough ramp and everything's gone. I mean, it's that simple. So that deck's weakness is the same as Selesnya, and it's going to have the same fate as soon as people start playing around it. So I don't think that's a durable deck, and I've only been seeing it in like the last 2 weeks, give or take. So white semi-blitz swarm with a lot of counter dump and a lot of City's Blessing. It's not a good deck regardless. It's clever, and if you aren't expecting it, it'll run you over, but it's still not a very good deck. So white-red, yeah, Heroic Reinforcements would be the card I would ban. Other than that, it's like, yeah, it's Mentor, only some of them have haste. It's good, but it's like appropriately good. It's not like broken good. So just on the grounds of that, even if it started crushing Planeswalkers, it's still a turn or two, like a full 2 turns in some cases behind Red Blitz. And it can run out of steam very quick. Pun very much intended. Yes, I'm referencing Runaway Steam Can. But it does have more tricks, and it has a more flexible sideboard because of having double the colors. You got all those Convocable Exilers, you got Ixalan's Binding, you've got individual 1 and 2 cost white spells that can just pinpoint target something specific and get rid of it. Like, Demystify, I'm sure that's a terrible example. There are better cards that cost like 2 that'll nuke like all kinds of very specific permanents. So that just strikes me as like a good matchup, and if they don't go first, boy, you get out of Planeswalker and are able to block or board wipe once, and that deck's done. I mean, even just Settle the Wreckage, throw that in. I can't imagine why Super Friends wouldn't run that. And also, White-Red isn't really dominating tournaments. It's still a really good deck. It's just not that popular in paper, I guess. It's pretty big on Arena, though. Well, at least in the Diamond League. Nexus. Hey, I've got news for everybody who said that it'll never be at a standard Grand Prix. It'll never be competitive at the pro level. What are you talking about? It's only good on Arena. Well, remember when I said the only thing stopping it is people can't shuffle fast enough or finish the deck or finish the game within 50 minutes at a pro tour? I guess they can now because it was the last Grand Prix I saw. This is a couple weeks ago though, so it's a little out of date. But I think like 1/3 of the decks in the top 32 were Nexus. So I guess it is a good deck and it is playable in standard. Imagine that, you idiots who said that it's not. It's astonishing that people would be that dumb. But there are those just ignorant, clueless dumbasses who are out there commenting, Des equals wrong, no matter what he says it's wrong, and then they get proven wrong and it doesn't matter, I already muted them. So would that have to be banned? I would actually say no. I mean, I want Nexus banned in every format and every single copy confiscated or recalled and then burned. I mean, that's what I want to happen. I'm not even saying that's realistic or they should do it. That's just what I want to happen. But that deck is so slow and so gradual and it relies on control, which is what Super Friends usually does. And that deck isn't very good at taking out competing Planeswalkers. So if you were able to ramp into them and drop them early, I think they got a chance of beating him, especially if they can do something to shut down Teferi. And you know there will be answer cards to Planeswalkers, so that problem might actually solve itself. I want that deck banned just on principle, but do I think it'll have to be banned to let the new set actually sell well and do well? Probably not. So the other major deck, a little bit of a new thing, is the mono blue duck and cover deck. I don't care if you call it tempo. First of all, it's not. It's Terramander, Tempest Djinn, and the rest of the deck is all just counterspells, cover, and Siren. A giant powerful flying creature and the entire rest of the deck is cover for it. I wonder if that's duck and cover. But yeah, that deck is annoying. It takes like 5 removal spells to kill one stupid freaking Terramander because they never, ever, ever tap out of mana, ever. And then all the counter spells and stuff and draw and all that and late game, you know, end step opt and all that, it feeds into Terramander and the deck's just too consistent, too damn good. It stops everything, it's too ready for everything, and for a blue tech, it's way too fast and all the threats are flying. You cannot have that versus Planeswalkers. It is just way too good, especially since, boy, you could probably get a Planeswalker with a Spell Pierce. Remember, that costs 1 and it says non-creature, and then negate, which is only 2. Even if you had to drop a Sinister because you had enough mana, you can rig your next turn and reload the cannon. So once again, just like the red deck functioning exactly like a blue-green deck with its level of card draw and mana availability, I think the mono blue deck is not working like typical blue at all. It is way out of its lane when it comes to typical color identity and themes. Giant ultra fast flyers, that's white. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's white. So for blue, like mono blue, not even mixed blue, for mono blue to win anything ever is amazing. And the way this works, it's utterly out of control, completely ridiculous. So just against the field, it should be banned, but let alone, Planeswalkers. I think it just blows Planeswalkers up. So that would have to be banned. I love Tempest Djinn. I wouldn't want to get rid of it. That's mostly for personal reasons because I love that card and it's in a couple of my decks. I think it's pretty clear, Terramander. I wouldn't start getting rid of like Spell Pierce and stuff and real universal utility stuff that could be used by another deck, especially in sideboards. I mean, the problem with most 3-color decks, Teferi decks, and some mono blue is the level of card draw. Even some Simic decks, there's just too damn much draw. Is it Drake's? Too much draw. There is just too damn much card draw in Standard right now, especially in blue, especially with Jumpstart. But the mono blue, not tempo by any stretch of the imagination, completely all in duck and cover deck, it doesn't run a whole lot of draw. I think the most I've seen is Opt. So getting rid of that wouldn't even weaken the deck. I think it's clear as day Terramander has to go. I mean, would that actually win without Terramander? There's like a hexproof 3/2 flyer that costs, I think, like 5. There's some okay Sphinxes, but they kind of don't cost 1 mana. If you converted it to a monocolor, double color, or triple color all flyers deck, either afterlife based or just blue-white flyers, it would be half the speed. The closest you're going to get to a similar archetype is my duck and cover deck, which is white-blue angels, and it's extremely white heavy. And as amazingly good as that deck is, because I got to Mythic with it last time, this time around, it's just not a good match for most of the meta. So if that's as close as they're going to get, it's a complete non-threat. So if they want Planeswalkers to work, I would say bare minimum get rid of Steamkin and Terramander. And I think they might not even wait. You know how there's like a banner restricted announcement like the day after a set comes out, or it seems like it. I'm sure it's like a week after, or hell, maybe it's before. I think it's like a couple days before a set officially releases in paper, because that makes sense. I know that their theory is wait and see, but they could justify a ban of those 2 cards without even the context of War of the Spark. They could look ahead and secretly know, okay, Planeswalkers are going to get their butts kicked by these 2 decks, and, we kind of want to sell the set. But their justification could be, okay, it's way too dominant at the tournaments. Look at these numbers, look at these matchups. They're both suppressing creativity. Mono red, mono blue, gone. And then they'd be all set for War of the Spark. So I think they might have the balls to do that, but remember, they're so stupidly cautious, late, and conservative when it comes to banning anything ever. So I think they're going to take a wait-and-see approach, because maybe the problem will work itself out by sheer random chance and magic, apparently, and maybe rainbow power. And then during the next ban restricted, they'll react. But I think it's like after the Pro Tour, which is now like, 6 weeks after launch? You can't go 6 weeks after launch and then save the set from nobody buying it. You have to do it in the first 2 weeks or don't even bother. Yes, it would fix the standard meta if they did it then, but it wouldn't fix their income. So that is why I think we're going to see a ban of at least a couple cards right before or after, whatever the hell it is, the release of War of the Spark. Now, with that in mind, guess when the next banner restricted announcement is? 6 hours from now. Actually, by the time most of you see this, according to my YouTube stats, they'll have announced it. The next banner restricted announcement is March 11th, 2019. So wouldn't that be interesting? Otherwise, the next one is right around the release of the next set. So, boy, would they actually pull the plug on it right now? If they were smart, they would. But I guess we'll see in a couple hours, and you know who's going to cover it bright and early tomorrow. Although it's 3 in the morning, it won't be that bright or that early. I don't actually know what time of day they post these, to be perfectly honest. It's probably not 8 a.m. their time. But anyway, keep your eyes on that, and especially the next one, and especially the one after that, because I think they really have to take action. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.